Wednesday, October 26, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at how Uncle Sam is trying to borrow on his 0% credit card to pay his mortgage. Yes, there's talk about the US Treasury doing buybacks, and we're going to look at that and what that means. Before I start, though, we're going to look at a couple of things. The first one is the gold coin balance, which I spoke of a couple of days ago. They do ship to the UK, but be aware that they don't have a slot for Britannias. They have slots for the Philharmonic, the Buffalo, the Kangaroo, the Panda, the Maple Leaf, the Krugerrand, and the Eagle, US Gold Eagle. And they do have a guarantee for those 7 coins. I have tried the Britannia on it, and it works on the Buffalo slot, but just wanted to make you aware of that. Again, this is just to help you. I would say that's the way I would use it. And as I've said before, always use a reputable dealer to buy your gold and silver from. What is my opinion of a reputable dealer? Well, a dealer that's been in business at least 10 years, maybe even more, like Gold Investments. They've been in business for 41 years. So just to let my UK viewers know that the Britannias are not guaranteed by the gold coin balance, but they can test other coins. I don't just stack Britannias. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to talk about before we go on to onto Uncle Sam is the concept of divide and conquer, or as the Romans used to call it, divide et impera. And why am I talking about this? Well, because of all the shifts and chaos in politics, not just in the UK, but particularly in the UK, but also in the US and other countries. Italy, Germany, everywhere, of course, where we have so-called democracy. And am I espousing dictatorship? No, but I leave it up to you to decide. I'm going to show you a chart and just decide what you think. I mean, what is a better system than democracy? I personally think it all depends on each individual, each one of us. If we keep asking government for help, if we keep asking government to pay us and take it from Peter, then we're going to continue to have democracy. And I think it's a bad system, because what has it gotten us? It's gotten us a lot of inflation, big government, less freedoms, and misery for many of us, of course. Hopefully not you. So I've always talked with people about this. I've been here for 30 years. I guess in Brazil, we had like a military dictatorship from the year I was born, actually, 1964, till the mid-80s or so, and then we got democracy, right? But I've been here in the UK most of my adult life, and you kind of see what's going on if you think like I do. You get one party and they do something, and then you get another one and they reverse it, and we never really go forward as individuals, and the government keeps getting bigger, right? So back to divide and conquer. This is the timeline here for prime ministers of Great Britain and the United Kingdom. And it's interesting that the first prime minister came into power in 1720. Why is that date significant, in my opinion? Well, it's just around the time that the Bank of England was founded. It was founded in 1694. Then the Bank of England and its funny money policy led to the South Sea Bubble in 1720. There was a lot of repercussions from that bubble. A lot of people lost all their fortunes, not just the very wealthy as well, but a lot of common people or lower people lower in the social and economic rank lost everything. And so what difference does it make now that we have a prime minister? Well, it's the growth of the party system. And what does the party system do? Well, it keeps the public pitted against each other. It creates factions, while the Bank of England and the bankers and the people above them basically extract wealth from you, because as I've spoken many times, the central banking model is one of which they can create money out of thin air, while we in the real world have to earn our money. So is it any wonder that they end up owning everything like they do now, while we stay divided against each other, labor against conservatives, you know, the Democrats versus Republicans, and in other countries the same thing. And I'm going to reference this book, The Nameless War, by Captain A.H.M. Ramsey, and I recommend the book. I have to say I don't agree 100% with some of his views, but his view on this divide and conquer is very telling. And another thing, this divide and conquer, this central banking model is dependent on crises, wars, pandemics, whatever, revolutions, all kinds of crises, right? And Captain Ramsey, interestingly, was one of the MPs who was put in prison during most of World War II. So this is what he said here about this divide and conquer system, because he went on to talk about the creation of the Bank of England, the national debt. That's the other thing. In 1692, just a couple of years before the Bank of England was formed, the national debt was 2 million. Now it's 2.7 trillion. So while the people at the top keep enriching themselves through this debt, we get lumbered with it. So this is what he says is the way that these people devised to keep people from looking into this parasitical central banking system. On page 18, he says, to provide against this, therefore, the party system was now brought into being, frustrating the true national reaction and enabling the wire pullers to divide and rule, using their newly established financial power to ensure that their own men and their own policy should secure the limelight and sufficient support from their newspapers, pamphlets, and banking accounts to carry the day. So there you go. That's where I think we are, and that's why we need to focus on protecting ourselves. That's why I think politics is a distraction. Is Rishi Sunak any better? I don't think so. I think all that happened was that Liz Truss thought she could improve things. She turned the thermostat too high, the knob on the cooker too high, and the people in charge, the Bank of England, the people at the top realized this was going to burn the frogs and they're going to jump off the system. And they said, hold on, turn it down and bring someone else in who is more competent. I think that's what happened. So that's the way I feel about it. I leave it to you to decide what kind of system we need. As I said, I think it's more about the way we think. If we believe that we should all be self-reliant, independent, I think we would be on the way to getting rid of this democracy system that just divides and conquers us. So back to the main topic of Uncle Sam. How can he borrow at 0% on his credit card? Well, it's not exactly at 0% because rates have gone up, but it's borrowing in the short term through Treasury bills. They are not that much lower, of course, than the long-term bonds, but they're more liquid. For example, a 1 month T-bill is at 347. So yeah, it costs a little less than the 4% right now on the 10-year or the 4.4% on the 20-year, which seems to be a bond they're having problems with. So this is just crazy. This is, as I said, it's like you borrowing on your credit card. Let's say a 0% credit card to pay off your mortgage. Is that going to improve things? No. Of course, the Treasury and Janet Yellen, their excuse is that there's a problem with liquidity. But I would say the problem with liquidity has been here for almost 3 years now. And why do I think there's a problem with liquidity? Well, because there's not enough people out there, aside from the Federal Reserve, who want to buy US government debt, because I think investors are realizing they're never going to stop. We're at almost 32 trillion. I think we were at 9 trillion maybe back in 08. I'm not too sure. Let's have a look here at the US debt clock. It will tell us. Yeah, we're coming to a point where people realize this is never going to be paid, and they don't want any of it. So I think we're going right into debt monetization, and this is even crazier that the Treasury itself is doing this by borrowing in the short term. Is that going to improve? No, it's going to create even more debt. If the Treasury, of course, was not spending as much as it does and was taking more taxes than it spends, i.e. having a budget surplus, then maybe you'd understand that, but they're not. So don't be fooled by talk of technical, improve the technical situation in the Treasury market. We're going to do buybacks. No, they're just monetizing debt and doing it through borrowing, which makes it even worse. It's not going to solve the problem. So yeah, the national debt was 10.8 trillion back in 2008 on this day, of course, the day that I'm talking, 26th of October 2008. And let's see where we're now. Well, we're at 31.2 trillion. So it's not sustainable. That's the whole problem. So it's like a corporation as well. They issue debt. Well, they used to a lot. Maybe not so much anymore because rates are a lot higher. They're not near zero. So they issue bonds, debt, to buy back their stock. So this is what Uncle Sam is trying to do. And I think it's crazy. And it's showing that there's trouble. And that the Federal Reserve with its QT is creating this problem. And so there's a couple of articles here. Yellen flags potential for buybacks for Treasury securities. And she's giving the excuse of the 20-year bond. But I think it's much more than that, of course. And also another article here, fragile Treasury market is at risk of large-scale forced selling or surprise that leads to breakdown. This is not me saying, it's Bank of America. So it's a big problem. We've had that problem here in the UK. And how was that solved? Well, the Bank of England had to step in with more QE. And I think the same thing's going to happen with the Fed. And we're going to look at the markets now. And we're going to look as well at the Japanese yen and also, yeah, at the Treasuries. So it's 8:15 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold up about $13. It's at 1666, up just under 1%. High's been 68. I think the 1670 level is going to be important. Yesterday, the dollar index, I was looking, a lot of people were tweeting, oh, dollar index is really strong and gold is not doing much. Well, gold is picking up today. So some people thought that that was a signal that gold would be sold off today. But right now, we're in good shape. Silver is up 21 cents, just over 1% at 1953. The high was 1968. I think 1970, which was the high overnight from Sunday to Monday, is going to be a key level. Low has been 1920. So to the stock market, the Dow futures is down 90 points or 1/4%. The NASDAQ 100 future is down 200 or 1.7%. S&P 500 is down 34 points or 7/8%. To the currencies now, we got sterling. It rallied yesterday quite a bit. Right now it's up slightly at just below 115. So the market's still giving the new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak a thumbs up. I personally not convinced, as I was speaking earlier about the divide and conquer. It's not going to get better for the general public. Financial repression is going to continue. And I heard President Biden call them Rashi Sanuk or something. Oh boy, that was funny. Anyway, the euro is up 0.2, just below par at 99.85. Yeah, and I noticed that Rafi put something out this morning that the Bank of Japan has continued. They've intervened about 5 times since the end of September. And that's another thing about the Treasury market, because they're intervening with some cash that they have in the Fed's repo account. But once that runs out, they're going to have to start dipping into their Treasury holdings and to sell Treasuries, cash dollars, and then take those dollars and sell it to buy the yen. But right now, yeah, the dollar is down 1/4% versus the yen at 147.58. It's getting like almost every day they're having to intervene. The dollar is down 1/3 versus the Swiss franc at 99.15. And I also heard that Chinese commercial banks were intervening, selling dollars late yesterday, apparently, China time. So even China is starting now, like the Bank of Japan, but through the commercial banks, to sell dollars to kind of stop the yen from dropping as much as it is. And that's the problem with the Fed policy. The more they tighten the screws and hurt other currencies, we're going to see people like China and Japan, who have a lot of dollars, sell those dollars. And I think where this is going to end up is the Fed is going to stop ratcheting the tightening. And yeah, that's what's going to happen. They're going to have to pivot because you're going to start getting problems. We're going to get higher Treasury yields. So yeah, the dollar is down 0.5% versus the yuan at 727.20. To the other currencies, we've got Aussie dollar up 0.8%, 64.40. The Canadian, the dollar is down 0.2 versus the Canadian, 135.77. And the Kiwi dollar is up 0.2% at 57.81. Now to the general commodities. WTI crude is down 1%, 84.08. Brent crude is down 1.25 at 90.72. And a little bit on the oil market. I saw, I think, a tweet from a Saudi official yesterday. Let's see if I find it here. And you'll see what he said about the oil market. I thought it was quite interesting. Oh yeah, Saudi Energy Minister Abdulaziz says People are depleting their emergency stocks and using them to manipulate the market when their original purpose was to alleviate supply shortages. So that's what's going on there. It's very political, this release of the strategic petroleum reserves. And I don't think it's going to end well. High-grade copper is up 1.25% at 343. And US nat gas is up 0.5% at 617. Just quickly check the Dutch nat gas futures. That's up 6% at 106. And I forgot the Russian ruble. While the dollar is unchanged, basically at 61 and a half roughly versus the ruble. And now to the bond markets. The 10-year yield has continued to drop. It's down about 6 basis points overnight at 405. What about the UK gilt market? Yeah, the prices rallied quite a bit yesterday, as I said in my video yesterday. Right now, the 30-year is up about 2 basis points at 370. The 10-year is at 365. Up 2 basis points. Yes, we've dropped quite a bit since the highs we saw during the crisis, but we're still way above where we were in the beginning of the year. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And with that, I wish you all a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.